Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel if you're a returning member. This is the second video in a two-part series about making a deviled egg tray. The first video focused on the software design and how I went about setting up the toolpaths in a way that made for them to be efficient and minimize the amount of effort on a point roundover and the other tools that I used. In that video, I talked about the concept of running a roughing pass before I run my point roundover and my finishing pass. I also discussed in that video how to go about designing the egg dish that you're going to see me carve. As part of that design process, I took time to go ahead and take a piece of scrap wood and designed a mini egg dish that I used to be able to test the depth of my point roundover and to see how my egg dishes were carving and if they were in the right depth and shape that I wanted them. So I'll include that in this video, is how I went through the testing of my point roundover to validate what depth I should have had that bit set at. And you will find that based on that testing, I was able to zero in my final design that I talked about in the last video. If you haven't already looked at video 1 where I go through the design, why don't you go check that out before you actually get into this and see how I'm cutting. That'll make discussions in this video much more clear. Oh, by the way, one of the things I wanted to point out was I'm using this material called BAMX, and I want you to recognize how cool that material looks when it's all said and done. As you can see, you've got a bamboo core, and then you've got the veneers on the outside. And once you cut through that veneer, then that bamboo core is exposed, giving you a combination of wood colors in your project. With that said, let's go ahead and get started into the cutting of the project. Since this is the first time I'm using the BAMX, I do want to test all of my toolpaths because this is a new design for me. So I'm going to do a real quick test, a little mini thing. So I'm going to cut a couple egg places, and then I'm going to try the pocket and the roundover, make sure the roundover is lined up just in the right spot, and the roughing pocket to put it in. And so the process is going to be using these bits. For the eggs holder, I'm going to use this 3/8 inch ball nose roundover from Rip Precision Tools. For the roughing bit right here, I'm going to use the Golden Boy from Cutting It Close, and then I'm going to use this 1/4 inch roundover from Rip Precision Tools, finish it all up with this finishing 1/4 inch down cut from Rip Precision Tools. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to see me do is use the rougher, leaving an onion skin about a little more than 1/16 of an inch on the bottom to hold everything in place. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and try the point roundover, see how that looks, and see if I need to make any adjustments. I may stop halfway through it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the couple little egg holders in there, see how they're carving. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll cut it out. So that's where we're going to go. Here we go with the rougher. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put in the point roundover. Okay, time to zero the point roundover. So one of the things I noticed, and I don't know how well we'll be able to see it on the camera, is this point roundover is going deeper than I want it to, so that means I'll have to sand. And that's why I'm doing a test run with this. So I'm gonna back that up about another 0.2 or 0.02 higher. So instead of being 0.24 depth cut, I'm gonna go to 0.22. The reason I'm doing this is to test the depth of this bit. So like I said before, this was going a little too low. So I've changed the depth of cut to 0.21, so it shouldn't be cutting as deep, and we'll just start over again. I won't notice anything until it gets over into this area. Okay, this is much less, but it's still not perfect where I want it, so I'm going to take it down just a little bit more. All right, I moved it down to 0.19 depth of cut, And we'll see how this works now this time. All right, I like that better. You can see right here where it was kind of deep, and then I made an adjustment. Then it was just a little bit, and this might actually be, probably between this one and this one might be the best one, maybe a 0.2 versus 0.19. This was depth of 0.21, this is 0.19, but I can sand over and roll over there a lot better than I can try to sand it off here. So I'm going to stick with this 0.19 depth of cut. Also notice, because we used a rougher first and the point rounder has a tendency to little frizzy on the edge there. I don't know how well you can see those frizzies. That shouldn't be worried, because when we come in with our finisher bit, it should take care of all those frizzies. The next toolpath is the eggs themselves. So I got to zero this bit. It's a 3/8 inch ball nose, so I did have to change collets. I know that changing bits is a pain for a lot of people, but frankly, I just consider it part of the process, and it doesn't bother me that much like it does many people. Now this will probably kick up a lot of dirt, or a lot of sawdust, not dirt, that I'll have to clean up, but we sacrifice our shops for these videos. Here we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Next toolpath I've got to do is my actual finishing toolpath to cut it out. All in all, that looks pretty good. A little bit of sand, and I think we're good. Still need some sanding and taking some of the rest of the onion peel off, but overall I think that's a good test piece, and I feel comfortable moving on to the regular piece. Well, here we are. We just finished doing a trial run and everything looked pretty good. So now we're all aligned. I made sure everything was set for this material, and we're getting ready to make a deviled egg tray in the shape of a Christmas tree using this new material, this BAMX material. I haven't used it before. That's why I wanted to test everything out up front. It's an awesome material. It's got a brown walnut color on the outside and a bamboo color on the inside, which gives you contrasting colors. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out. The first toolpath that I've set up to run is using this 3/8 inch ball nose to allow me to do the actual egg slots. And then after that's done, I'll start with the rest of the project. Okay folks, we're going to start with the egg tray. You notice I have my dust shoe on because this one will kick a lot of dust, and I'm trying to minimize the amount of that going all over my garage. Didn't mind with the test cut. We've already done the test cut. The test cut turned out well. This is the first time me working with this material, and I've got a 3/8 inch ball nose in there, and I'll be putting out the little areas for the actual egg. So that's where we're headed right now. Let's get started. Safety glasses, hearing protection.
About the things we used to do. No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call?
I'm using an upcut ball nose, and it gave me a little bit of tear out, which I'm not too happy about, that I'm going to have to deal with. I've noticed that this bit has started doing a little bit of this. It never used to do it in the past, so it may be getting dull. Maybe I've overused it, but I'll have to repair this now. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on it right now just to make sure it doesn't rip off. The next toolpath I'm going to run is to carve the star. I'm going to carve a clearance, and then I'm going to use a V-bit on the outside of the star just as a decorative quality, kind of like a chamfer. So I'll start with a 1/8 inch bit, and then I'll switch over to a 30-degree V-bit. Okay, that didn't work out. I don't know whether the V-bit got confused with this. We'll see what happens in the end. But I'm going to go ahead and run this one more time. That's what it should have done the first time. I'll just go ahead and run the V bit and see how it looks. So one of the things I was expecting was it to clear out enough by going down 1/8 of an inch that this would be white like these egg trays. And it didn't quite get there, so I'm going to have to reprogram it, make it a little deeper. This is only about, well, just under 1/8, so it's just a little bit more. Okay, I've resaved the toolpath. We'll go ahead and run it one more time. This time it should be deeper, and we'll see if it clears it. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I've got the nice white bamboo showing through. Now I'll put the V-bit in there. This is the Jenny downcut groovy, 30 degrees. And on this one, I will zero it by hand. Because I don't like taking a chance on breaking the tips. That looks good right there. So the next step in this process that Ryan Drapela teaches is to go do a roughing pass, about 0.05 out from the edge. It is an upcut bit, so it can cause chip out, and that's the one thing I'm nervous about, but he showed it on his videos, and so I'm going to give it a try. I've already zeroed the bit. There will be a little bit of sanding, but not too bad. You can see there is just a little bit of sanding on this lip here, but that'll sand out with 120, 180 just real quickly. Now the next step is to put in a finishing bit, 1/4 inch down cut, and make a final pass. So one thing I do is I zero off the machine bed, which means I have to do one extra toolpath calculation in the software. But it makes sure that I minimize the amount of times I cut into my bed and usually gives me a cleaner cut. So I did that in this project. So you'll see me, everything else I've been zeroing off the top, but on this finishing cut you'll see me zero off the bottom. Or off the spoiler, I should say. Okay, there we are, all cut out, looks good. One mistake I noticed that I made was I normally go one pass. If I've done the roughing pass, I normally just do one pass around, but I apparently left it at the default, which, so you saw it do 3 passes. I would change that for the future. To me, everything's looking really nice and clean, just a little bit of sanding up here around the edges, and for me, I have to clean up a little bit of tear out here, but after I do that, things will look good. Really happy with the way this turned out. Now, the reason you saw me using screws and clamps, a little extra precaution, was because I was using an upcut bit, using a couple upcut bits, and when you use upcut bits, they want to pull your material up, and I found that even with these side clamps, that they'll pull out at times. So I didn't want to take any chances there. So with that, I put the screws in. At first I was just going to use the clamp, then I went ahead and put a screw in, and I just didn't bother to take out the clamp. Probably didn't need the, I know I didn't need the clamp after I put the screw in, but so looking good, and you can see that I didn't go through it under my spoiler board because I took the time to actually zero off the bed itself. So now I'll just use a little flush trim bit and take those tabs off. This thing will be ready for sanding, and it won't need much sanding at all. So the next step in this process is for me to go ahead and trim these tabs off. I could do that with either a sander or with this. I prefer to do it with this. Makes it smoother. So I lower this down. It's a trim bit. It works right along the edge here. So now that I have it right there, I'll tighten it down. I will plug in the router, and then we can trim it. That's a wrap for this video. We've gotten through and we've carved and cut the egg dishes. We've cut out the Christmas tree or the design of the deviled egg tray. All we have left is to do some sanding and some finishing, and then we'll have a deviled egg tray that looks like the picture I'm going to show either on this side or that side. I'm not sure which side I'll show it on, but I'll show you what the final egg tray looked like. If you'd like to see what I did to sand this project and finish it off and address some of the tear out that you saw during the project, let me know and I can set up a separate video for that. But at this point, my focus was on how you actually get from the point of concept and designing, that was video 1, to the final product of cutting it off on the CNC. And I wasn't quite into publishing how I sand it and finish it unless others are interested. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you like what you've been seeing, as always, I ask you to subscribe to the channel. Hit the all notifications when you subscribe, and that will make sure you get future videos that I put out. And if you can hit that like button or comment and share this video, it will be helpful to the channel. I do hope you're having an opportunity to get out into your shop, make some cool things, and enjoy your making experience. With that, until we meet in this medium again, I wish you the very best.